Hello, folks and fellow patriots. This is Constitution Kelly coming to you from Indiana. And this week, I've got a little something special for you, at least I think. And this week, what we're going to be covering is Subtitle C, National Medical Device Registry. And before I get into this, this is actually from the healthcare bill, directly from it. Word for word. And what I'm going to do to start this is I'm going to go over this article that I found, which says, of course, national healthcare will require national RFID chips. And before I get into this article, if you don't know what an RFID chip is, RFID chips, I even got the explanation right there for you. RFID chip. It is a small electronic computer device placed into the skin of a person that can be used for identification, tracking, information storage, and interfacing with external sources such as financial, business, commercial, governmental, educational, and medical institutions. In other words, an RFID chip can be utilized for every area of life. Oh, it sounds wonderful. It sounds like a scientific, like a sci-fi dream. People don't realize what kind of government we're dealing with. Now, of course, what this article says is that national healthcare will require national RFID chips. And, you know, I don't doubt that they will. But the problem that I have with this is that nowhere, and we'll see this, nowhere in National Medical Device Registry, which is where I'd say 90% of the articles that I've come across that have to do with RFID chips say that that information is directly in there. But it's not. But, as we know, our government isn't completely trustworthy. This article starts out, now that the health care bill has passed and been signed into law, one must inquire, how will the federal government keep track of the millions of persons in America now supposedly required to operate according to the federal government's health care program? Now, when you first get into this article, it looks like they're going to look at both sides of the argument here, and they do a pretty good job of not being biased. And I believe I found this on InfoWars, actually. Maybe not InfoWars. Okay, so we went over, okay. The question that comes into play with the RFID chips is, of course, will I be able to maintain my rights of privacy and other liberties if I have an RFID chip planted in my skin for societal and governmental purposes? As we will show, the answers are very relevant, because it is known that the federal government will likely mandate that these RFID chips be implanted into all persons in America. And then it goes on to give a recent history on RFID chips and governmental advocates of it, people that are definitely for RFID chips. And the information that they present is very, well, what you'd see on the news, you know, oh, these are so great, and they're going to allow us to cut crime rates tremendously. There won't be missing persons. I'm sure that they'll go with that whole thing. Then they go into talking about how RFID technology is used today, and this talks about what the new healthcare application allows. And I really like the way they end the article, because they ask a lot of very relevant questions. Consequently, these questions must be asked. Who will submit? Who will resist? What will the states do to protect their citizens from these mandates? What will the states do to require their citizens to comply with these mandates? What will the individual do to receive medical treatment who does not take this chip? Where will the individual go to receive quality medical treatment if all medical facilities require that you have this RFID chip? And what penalties will be imposed upon those who do not take this chip? These are all questions which must be answered and realized, because inevitably the federal government will do all that it can to implement an RFID chip system. And so it brings us to Subtitle C, National Medical Device Registry, Subtitle Section 2521. Now it goes through telling you what this section is telling you, and then National Medical Device Registry, Paragraph 1. The Secretary shall establish a National Medical Device Registry, in this subsection referred to as the registry, to facilitate analysis of post-market safety and outcomes data on each device that, A, is or has been used in or on a patient, and one, a Class 3 to 4 device, or 2, a Class 2 device that is implantable. Note that word, implantable. Life-supporting or life-sustaining is what it goes on to say. Implantable. Right there. I've got it underlined. In developing the registry, Paragraph 2, in developing the registry, the Secretary shall, in consultation with a whole list of governmental departments, determine the best methods for, and it's going to determine the best methods for 4 different things under different accounts. And through all the jargon, it's actually very, very simple. In developing the registry, the Secretary shall, in consultation with a whole list of government departments, determine the best methods for including in the registry, in a manner consistent with subsection F, appropriate information to identify each device described in Paragraph 1 by type, model, and serial number, or other unique identifier. It also is in charge of B, validating methods for analyzing patient safety and outcomes data from multiple sources, and for linking such data with the information included in the registry as described in Paragraph A, including, to the extent feasible, use of 1. Data provided to the Secretary under other provisions of this chapter, and 2. Information from public and private sources identified in Paragraph 3. Now, in Paragraph 3, they don't directly identify those sources, and that's a problem with that, because they don't in the National Medical Device Registry. Another thing they're in charge of is C, integrating the activities described in this subsection with, and they've got but the important one here is 3. Okay. Integrating the activities described in this subsection with other post-market device surveillance activities of the Secretary authorized by this chapter. So let me read that in a complete sentence with how it's supposed to sound. In developing the registry, the Secretary shall, in consultation with a whole list of government departments, determine the best methods for integrating the activities described in this subsection with other post-market device surveillance activities of the Secretary authorized by this chapter. Right here. And I'm not making up the wording in this at all. Got it directly from the bill. Right here. Post-market device surveillance. Surveillance. I don't know how well you can see that. I've got to get used to putting stuff up to the camera. Post-market as in after you've bought it. So post-market device surveillance. They're going to be keeping watch on the device and you after you've bought it. And the final part, D, is ensuring that your privacy is kept in the registry, of course. 3, Paragraph 3 goes on to talk about how they will enforce receiving the data for the registry. And Paragraph 4 is when the registration of products should be active, when they'll start registering products, which gives 36 months from the date enacted of this regulations for establishment and provision of paragraph regulations. Right.